It's midnight. It is officially the start of Tome Topple round 16. Let's get into it. I'm going to pour some coffee and we're going to start plugging away at this together. Okay, so I downloaded Empire of the Vampire to my Kindle and I am just gonna lay here now and read as much as possible until I fall asleep, which honestly is going to be extremely quick. So I'm not even gonna push to finish chapter 1. Like if my eyes start closing, like that's it. So yeah, let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone. Hi, if you're new, I'm Tori, and today is the first day, well, actually it's the second day of Tome Topple and my first day vlogging for Tome Topple, and just my first time ever vlogging for Tome Topple. So I am very excited for this readathon and this whole vlogging experience. You guys know I do not vlog. I'm not good at vlogging, like, at all, which is why there's only like 2 vlogs on this entire channel. But I'm excited to, you know, get into the groove of it and maybe do it a little more often. So I'm gonna be vlogging Empire of the Vampire first. This is my first pick of Tome Topple. I always just take the dust jacket off when I'm reading hardcover books, especially tomes. And yeah, I'm on chapter 5 and I'm on page 46. So that's nothing. It's literally nothing in this huge book. But I mean, things are moving along. So I did actually start this at midnight when we hit midnight for Tome Topple, and I read through the first 2 chapters and then passed out. And then I didn't get a chance to pick the book up again until last night, and then I read through 2 more chapters. So yeah, that puts us at chapter 5, and things are moving. Like, I'm not disliking anything so far. I think the story is pretty interesting, just very early on. I am a little bit shocked by how dark things are starting to get in this story. It really is going from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. I feel like we're just being tossed right into the fire with things here. So Empire of the Vampire is a story within a story, and we have our main character, Gabriel de Leon, who has been captured at the beginning of the novel. And I'm getting to the part now where he's starting to get wrapped up with the people who I guess would become like his found family, or the people who are a part of his order. So I'm getting to that bit right at the part that I left off at. But he's been imprisoned at the very beginning of the novel, and obviously, like, we don't know why or what happened, but a vampire comes in to where Gabriel is imprisoned and basically forces him to tell his story of his order and what happened and why he got in prison. And that's kind of where things are going so far. I do really love the fact that a lot of what is happening right now, it's just conversation. It's all dialogue. All of the world building so far is unfolding in dialogue, which I think is really fascinating. At first, when I did finally realize that this would be a true story within a story, I was having Name of the Wind flashbacks, and I was like, oh my god, I can't handle another just long-winded, drawn-out, like, fantasy tale like that. That's a story within a story. But this, I think, is doing something kind of interesting because, again, everything is happening in dialogue. Like, we're still firmly rooted in the place where Gabriel is in prison, but the vampire he's talking to, they're just bouncing conversation off each other. And it's so interesting the way that it's happening, because Gabriel will be verbally, like, saying something about his past and what happened, but then he'll say something and it brings us right back to the present day where he is talking to the vampire across from him. It's really interesting. I love how in scene that switches back and forth very quickly. So the structure of it so far is really holding my attention. I really like that. But I have so many questions about Gabriel in general. I don't know how to really explain it. So okay, in the synopsis it says that he is half human, half monster, but it doesn't specify what kind of monster he is. I assumed, because it's called Empire of the Vampire, I assumed that he is half human, half vampire. But the way that he speaks to the vampire that's taking his story, I don't know, it's very weird. It almost makes me feel like, why is he speaking? It's like he's speaking to him as if Gabriel himself is not a half vampire. It's odd, but I'm really curious to see what's happening. Again, I mentioned I'm getting to the point now where I think Gabriel is starting to get wrapped up in this band of people who like bring him into what he will become later on down the line. So that's where I am, and yeah, things are moving, things are happening, and it's getting extremely dark. We'll see where it goes. It definitely has my attention, and that's about it. I'm looking forward to it. I think today will be the biggest moment I have this weekend to make a dent in this book. Tomorrow is not terribly busy, but just a few things to do here and there. But today I just really, it's 8:54, so today I would really just love to make a solid dent in the story, and I think I can do it. And it does move pretty quickly. Like when I'm in it and focused and reading and not tired, the book does move very quickly because a lot of it is in dialogue. I would say so far all of this book is dialogue, which is really interesting. So that is the plan for today. I think I'm just looking at the time, I think I actually might go get something to eat, go get some coffee or something. I don't feel like cooking anything. The work week was just insanely draining, you guys, and I just don't feel like cooking for myself today. I really don't. I don't feel like cooking. I don't feel like washing dishes. I started in the dishwasher. I don't want to do it. So I'm gonna probably grab some breakfast, and then I'm gonna grab lunch, and hopefully that'll roll into dinner, and it'll be a good day. So yeah, let's get started. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Again, this will be spoiler free. Happy Tome Topple, and let's get into the vlog. Hi, future Tori, just popping in quickly. So at the time of filming this clip right here, I am a few chapters into book 3 in Empire of the Vampire. And the further I get in this book, the more I am really starting to question whether or not me discussing the structure of the book and the timeline of Gabriel's story is within itself some kind of mild spoiler. I knew going into this book that this was going to be a story within a story, but as we get, with each book that we get to, Gabriel's story becomes very non-linear, and so we start kind of hopping around, and after a while it becomes very difficult, if not, I think it's actually almost impossible. Honestly, it's impossible to talk about this book without talking about the structure and how Gabriel's story is bouncing back and forth. So I think if you don't want to know the specifics of that, maybe don't watch this video. I think it's pretty mild, honestly, given that it is a story within a story and you can expect some kind of movement. Maybe that's just me erring on the side of caution, but I know how excited so many of you guys are to pick up this book, so I don't want to, I don't want to spoil anything. But just in terms of like traditional spoilers, I'm not going into heavy detail about any particular character. I'm not going to be mentioning if a character, any character deaths that may or may not happen. I'm not going into any heavy detail about the plot or any crucial like plot moments, that sort of thing. So you can feel free to watch the video without being spoiled of things like that. But just the structure itself is hard to ignore in this book because it is the core of the story, and you can't really get around that and if you're talking about the book from beginning to end. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there just in case you guys didn't want to know anything about the structure or the timeline of the story. So I will leave that decision up to you on whether or not you continue watching, but I hope you do. Okay guys, so I am all settled in for the morning. I'm on chapter 5. We're gonna make some really strong progress in this book today. I got my coffee here covering up some spoilers and got my book darts down there. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I also have this book downloaded on my Kindle. I borrowed it from my library via the Libby app, so that's actually why I've been making such good progress, because I have been just up in bed reading it on my Kindle. So that's really helpful, and I think that's going to come in handy for the rest of the readathon. I'm going to see if I can find the Dragon Republic via the Libby app next. We have a long way to go. I'm excited to see how far we get today. And I do actually like the fact, just really quickly, I love the fact that there are title chapters throughout this book. The title of chapter 3, there was the British spelling of somewhere, I forgot what the word was, but it caught my eye because I was like, wait, is J. Kristoff British? I never knew that. And then I was thinking, well, why would I know that? I don't go looking for J. Kristoff. So, but I did finally look it up, and I found out that he's Australian. Who would have thought? I'm sure you guys watching this right now are like, duh, like who didn't know that? But I didn't know that. That's interesting, I guess. I mean, it doesn't impact the story. It's just now a fun fact for me. So anyways, I am gonna get into this. My cat is sitting right here kind of glaring at me because she thinks the spot that I'm sitting in is hers. and wants me to get up. So yeah, that's her personality, and I'll see you guys later. Okay, so this is going to be just a super quick update, but this is why, you guys, I am so bad at filming vlogs, and honestly a little self-conscious about filming vlogs because my real-time thoughts moving through a book, they are so all over the place. I feel like I'm so much better when I finish the book and my thoughts are fully formed, but you are getting like real-time, like raw thoughts. So in that last clip, when I was talking to you guys about, I had all these questions about Gabriel's background and why he's talking to this vampire, taking his story like he himself isn't a vampire, and I was just so confused about it. Literally, if I had kept reading not even 5 pages, like barely 5 pages, if I had just read those 5 pages before I sat down and filmed that first clip, I would have had some important answers to those questions and the reasons why Gabriel feels this way, and just more of a history about what he is. I feel ridiculous now, so that's kind of where we are at the moment. It was revealed very quickly after I filmed that clip, so yeah, that's what's happening so far. I feel like now I'm reaching a point in the story where I'm kind of moving away from being curious and like interested to being fully invested. Like, I want to know this world now. I'm really starting to enjoy these characters that I'm meeting, so now I'm kind of all in, like, let's go. I'm meeting a lot of different new characters so far, and there's one in here that is a part of this brotherhood that Gabriel now finds himself in. There's one, and he is just a mess, and he is really getting on Gabriel's nerves, but I feel like the two of them are going to be so tight by the end of this book, and it's so funny. He's like giving Gabriel a tour, and he's so shady. He's like, there's the library, doubt you can even read though, and Gabriel's standing there like, excuse me. So it's just little things like that, little quips back and forth, and they're kind of mocking each other, teasing each other, but this is going to be a strong brotherhood. I feel like Gabriel is going to become such a hardened character being a part of this brotherhood, because right now we still see, like, you know, a little bit of his innocence and how he, you know, we still see his like kind of emotional side and how he looks up to certain people, but I feel like that's all just going to be snuffed out very soon. So we'll see where it goes, but yeah, I thought that update was funny, and that's where we are with things. All right guys, I am up in the bed for the night, and I'm gonna read as much as possible until I just eventually fall asleep. It's actually not that late, but I'm just very tired. So we'll see how far I can get. But so far this is really good. I'm on part 2 now, or book 2, I think it was called. I'm on book 2, and now we're starting to skip a lot in time. So before, the story was kind of unfolding in a more linear fashion, but since we hit book 2, now the timeline actually jumped ahead. So I think J. Kristoff is just doing a lot of interesting things. Excuse me, oh my gosh, that was a big yawn. I think J. Kristoff is just doing a lot of interesting things with the structure of the story and kind of playing around with it. So I like the way that it's unfolding. I'm learning a lot more about just the lore of this world in general, and the lore of, you know, the lore of vampires in the story, and what vampires can and can't do, and the kind of things that affect them or harm them, and it's just been really good so far. Good morning, friends. So it is currently like 5:30, around 5:30 in the morning on Sunday, and I am so far making really good progress through part 2, or book 2, in Empire of the Vampire, and I'm really enjoying this so far. I feel like the lore of the world is coming out a lot more. I'm really enjoying a lot of the characters that we've met so far, and drunk Gabriel is an icon, quite honestly. Some of his dialogue, some of his lines when he's drunk they've been hilarious. I've actually laughed out loud like a couple of times reading through the last couple of chapters. of book 2. So I mean, things are really moving along. The timeline of this is what really holding my intrigue at the moment, because book 2 has skipped ahead many years, and we're left still with so many questions about the things that happened in book 1, when Gabriel was telling the story of when he was younger and first got into, you know, the Brotherhood. Now we've kind of skipped all of that, and we went right into this future this future timeline that brings us a little bit closer to where the prologue starts, actually, like maybe a few years removed from the start of the prologue. So it's really interesting the way that this is skipping around so far. Yeah, I still have so many questions about what happened to the characters from book 1, and just, yeah, I love the timeline of this. I think the jumping around and leaving you with so many questions is just, it's really good. It's really good. And at this point now in book 2, it's like Gabriel has already kind of become this well-known figure. And when we met him in book 1, he was just a boy, and now it's like, well, how did we get here? We're missing all these details, and I can't wait for us to keep skipping back and forth. So that's kind of what's going on at the moment. I'm gonna read this morning for as long as possible. I'm doing a booktube collab video with the World Hoppers, which I'm really excited for, later this morning. And then my best friend and I are gonna go to brunch. And then my mom and I are gonna have a FaceTime date and watch Spider-Man No Way Home. So a few things happening today that I'm really looking forward to, but I am gonna squeeze in a lot of time to read as well, even if I have to stay up a little bit later tonight to read, because I would love to make it to the midway point in this book before the end of the day. I think that would put me on a good trajectory so far with the readathon. So that's the goal for today. This is really good. I can't wait for some of the other characters from book 1 to come back into play. I'm really looking forward to that. And I love how this book is literally all in conversation. And it's so immediate because it flows like a real conversation. Like Gabriel and the vampire that he's talking to, they're still in the same room, and this whole book is going by, and it's like they're bouncing conversation off each other. Gabriel's telling his story, the vampire's interrupting. It flows like a real dialogue, which is just really interesting how the scenes flow into each other. It's like, well, Gabriel will start talking, and then we'll go back into his past, and then the vampire that's taking his story down will interrupt, and then we're immediately kind of yanked back into the present day for a split second. It's really good. So I'm kind of loving that aspect of this book so far. Some of the jokes, the insults that these characters are throwing at each other has been so ridiculous, but it's very entertaining, and I can't wait to read more. So that's the goal for today. Read as much as possible, get at least to the midway point, and I think we'll be good. So it's Sunday now, it's April 24th, and you guys, I am still reading Empire of the Vampire. I have been making my way through this book so slowly and just, chipping away at it, especially last week, just chipping away at it when I can. But it's my slow pace through the book. It's not an indication of my enjoyment level of the book, because I'm actually really loving this, and when I'm in it, it's just so immersive and has been an amazing reading experience. I have just been reading 30 pages a day, or sometimes I've only been able to read like as many as like 45 a day. So it's been really up and down throughout the week, and then the weekend just did not, I had a good weekend, but it just did not go according to plan in terms of reading. So I am settled in for the evening now, and just gonna see how much I can continue to read. I only have like 270 pages left, so things are moving along. I do feel good about the progress, and I'm just still having a really great time with the readathon and vlogging and everything. So it has been a lot of fun. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would have loved to have been done with Empire of the Vampire on this past Friday, so I could have started the Dragon Republic and maybe just gotten a couple of chapters in of that. But there's still a few days left of the readathon, and you know, I still feel good about it. So far, I am still moving back and forth between the physical copy of Empire of the Vampire, and I'm also have the book downloaded to my Kindle from the Libby app. And right now my Kindle says that I am 61% in. I'm on chapter 6 of book, I think I'm on book 5. So I'm really loving how things are unfolding. We've once again switched timelines, so I'm back in the future timeline of Gabriel's story, and it's really, really good. So I've been loving my experience with this book so far. I love the way that everything is structured, because there are some pretty big things that start coming out, especially in the past chapters, and we'll be learning a lot of new things. And then it will switch back to our future timeline, and you're still thinking like, well, I want to be back in the past with these characters and what happened to the monastery and the Brotherhood. But at the same time, you're reading about this new storyline happening in Gabriel's future timeline, and that has its own big things coming out in that timeline too. And so by the time you switch back to the past, you're like, actually, I want to stay with the future. So I mean, it's just the way that your interest is pulled in different directions in this book, I think has been so just so exciting to read about. I was getting just a little bit worried about the pacing of it when I got to, I think it was book 4, because book 4 was the future timeline, and book 4 was kind of long. It was starting to slow down just a little bit, because there's a lot of lore coming out in book 4. The mystery of what Gabriel is trying to do in that timeline is a bit drawn out, and so it did start to feel like it was slowing down a little bit. But I think overall, just the pacing of the book has been really great so far, and I just still have so many questions about a lot of things that were revealed in the past chapters, because there's something that we learn about Gabriel in the past that really has not come back into play yet. It's like we know about it, we just don't really know how that nugget of information kind of has informed the person that Gabriel becomes in the future timeline. But there's still so many questions I have about some of the characters that we have come to love in the past chapters. And I'll be in the future timeline thinking like, how come this character hasn't shown up yet? Like, where are they? And just, it's really good. It's really good the way that these kind of seeds of information, you know, kind of flow throughout time. So I've really been loving that aspect of the story, and I really love how dark this is. It's not even so much the fact that we're like constantly seeing dark content happen on page, and I mean, there's definitely a lot of that in this book, but it's not like every page you're seeing this happen. But just the overall tone of the story just feels kind of grim and really dark, and that's really permeated throughout the entire book so far. So I've really been loving that aspect of it. Like, you know that this is a dark world. You know, when these enemy, like, iconic vampires start showing up on the page, that things are about to be a little messy, because you've already heard some things about them. So it's really, really good. This has been a great reading experience. So I do just want to settle in for the evening and keep making some progress with this. I can't wait to see if some of the characters that I've met in the past will come back into play in the future timeline. It's a lot that's still just up in the air. And when I keep saying past and future timelines, how do I explain this? So the entire story, like, Gabriel's telling this entire story, and that part of the book is in present day. So Gabriel is in the tower in prison talking to the vampire who's taking his story down, and that back and forth is technically the present day of the story. But with these timelines that we keep getting thrust into, we get like Gabriel at the monastery and his brotherhood, which is like the past timeline, and then we also get Gabriel in the future when he's already become this big hero. So that's the future timeline, but both of them are in the past relative to the present storyline that Gabriel is telling, if that makes any sense. So that's been the story so far. I'm gonna settle in for the evening and just take a really good crack at this book, and let's see what happens. Okay, you guys, I'm up in the bed reading on my Kindle, and this chapter, particularly this scene that I'm reading right now, it is absolutely nuts. I'm just like, I don't see how this is going to work out for anybody. This has just been a lot. Like, the vampires are not, I don't know. The vampires are really vampiring right now. They're not messing around, and I'm afraid for everyone. So we'll see how this goes.
12 seconds later.
So I was right to be afraid. Good morning, you guys. It is Monday, April 25th, and we are in the end game now. I am almost done with Empire of the Vampire. I'm officially less than 200 pages away from the end of the book. I'm on page 533, so yeah, about 180 something or whatever pages away from the end of the book, and this has just been so good. I don't know where we go from here. The last couple of chapters that I've read in this last book have been so epic. They've been like end of book kind of chapters where you just, how does the story even continue from there? I wouldn't have been fine if the book ended there, but they were just such big chapters that I still can't believe that there's so much time left in this book. So I'm almost there though, and this has just been, oh my god, this has been an amazing reading experience. I have really loved the time that I've spent with these characters in this world, and just to see the lore develop as deeply as it has, it's been it's been amazing. So I want to go back to the first line in this book, because I remember when I started the book and I read this first line, and I laughed and brushed it off, and it was like, okay, whatever, this is gonna be, you know, Gabriel has a sense of humor kind of thing. But the first line in the book says, "Ask me not if God exists, but why he's such a prick." Yeah, that got a little laugh out of me. But as the book has gone on, like you just, I don't know, you really start to realize how just deeply religion is ingrained throughout this story. I mean, it is the foundation of Gabriel's brotherhood, this really like intense religious ideology. I'm not going to get into why they believe the things that they do, but it's very, you know, integral to the story. But as the book goes on, you just really see different characters struggle with that, and just some characters being so devout, but the experiences that Gabriel has had throughout this book have really they're really taking a toll on his outlook on life and sin and religion and things like that, and God, and that struggle that is happening with not even just Gabriel but a lot of these different characters. It's not even something that feels forced. It's just something that's naturally developing over time, and you see why that's happening. So for the book to start with that line, and as strongly as it does, I think just it really captures kind of the religious journey and the journey of faith that a lot of these characters go on throughout the book. So I'm almost there. I cannot believe this book is almost over, but we're gonna get there. I'm probably not gonna check in again until I actually finish the book, but just thank you guys for watching this vlog. It has been an amazing experience to film and share my like real-time thoughts with you guys. So I really appreciate you all sticking around for however long this vlog is going to end up being. And yeah, I will dive back into this, and I will see you guys at the end of the vlog. So it's almost 10 o'clock and I'm smiling, but it's not good at all. I'm about to go into a chapter right now that I know, like I genuinely know it's about to ruin my night, because Gabriel has been alluding to something for most of the second timeline in this book. And in the last chapter that I just read, you know that like the outcome of what happens, you just don't know how it happens. And now I'm finally at the chapter of like how things happened. I don't want to read it. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to have to push through that chapter to get there, to get to the end of the book. It's just, I'm not looking forward to it. I really think it's going to be an emotionally draining chapter. So let's get into it. What? Oh my god. Oh my god. What is going on? Oh my god. Why? Why? Oh no. Oh my god. What? Oh. Why did they have to include that in there? Oh, fuck. So good morning, you guys. It is Tuesday now, and last night was embarrassing, but I have finally finished Empire of the Vampire, and this was really good. I really loved my reading experience. I had such a great time with this world and these characters. It was a lot. The whole time I've been saying this book is 717 pages long. Actually, it's 719 pages. Overall, this was an amazing reading experience. I had a great time with this world and these characters, and it was just good. It was epic. The lore of this world is so rich and so deep, and I just really enjoyed it. One of the things I was not such a huge fan of, and I know this is the first book in a trilogy, so the answers are going to come later, and Gabriel is still, I still got the sense that Gabriel wasn't quite sure what was going on exactly, you know, with himself either. But I feel like there were a lot of things about Gabriel that I still wanted to know by the end of this that I think could have been addressed more in a book 1 than something that had to be revealed later on in like a book 2 or a book 3. So I spent a lot of the second timeline like, how is he doing this? What is going on? I wanted to get some more information about the things that I learned about him in the past timeline. So I still had a lot of questions surrounding just Gabriel in general. And I would say books 5 and 6, there were some portions of it that I think slowed down significantly. Like last night when I was talking about I was getting into a really hard chapter to read, that was actually the most, I don't want to say it was exciting because it definitely wasn't, but I would say that's the first time book 6 felt like it was picking up any sort of momentum, and it was happening towards the end of book 6. So the ending of this, you guys, reminded me of, this is not a spoiler, but the end reminded me of the ending of a very, very popular video game, and I was like, this almost feels like scene for scene. Something towards the end of book 6 resurfaced from something that happened earlier in the book, and I wasn't thinking about it anymore, and I was like, oh, like, wow, what just happened? So I had such an amazing time with this book. This, in my opinion, was just a great example of a story within a story and just juggling multiple timelines in one tale. So I really enjoyed it. I will be reading book 2. I cannot wait for it. This was just a great read. I do recommend this if you're interested. And yeah, my first book of Tome Topple is down. I'm going to move into the Dragon Republic. I probably will not finish it, unfortunately, in the last like 2 days of Tome Topple, but I'm still going to be vlogging it, and I'm still going to be posting, you know, that vlog when I finish the book, even if it is a few days after Tome Topple ends. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments how Tome Topple is going for you. We still have some time left, so let me know what you're reading, if you plan to pick up anything else before the readathon ends. And I'm gonna put this book back up on my shelf now, fully read, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.